Welcome to Digital Visibility Strategies, everybody. Formerly Deep SEO Conference. We've taken some time off and rebranded slightly to a more generic marketing structure. My name's Steve Grinzer. I'm the CMO at Web Narwhal. I've been on the internet and doing marketing for over 20 years now, which is kind of crazy. My focus lately has been SEO and pay-per-click, and that's where I spend most of my time. With me is Doc Sheldon. He's also the CEO at Web Narwhal. He's been doing this for over 10 years now. And
20.
Oh, really? 20 now?
Yeah.
I didn't think you were that old.
You're so kind.
Yes. And Doc's primary focus with Web Narwhal is in content strategy and technical SEO and technical audits, both for SEO and for accessibility. So we wanted to get the 2024 year started off with some thoughts about where we're going with AI, where SEO is going, and generally get us ready for the new year, because hopefully it's going to turn out better than 2023 did for a lot of people. So I guess the first thing on our list is SGE. Do you think that's going to continue to roll out? Is Google going to pull back on that a bit, or are we going to see it evolve into something totally different? What do you think, Doc?
Well, Google has been able to pull back on things before, but I do not see that likely. I think that we're probably getting a pretty good glimpse of what they have intended for SGE. You know, way back in the day, Eric Schmidt said that they didn't want to be a search engine. They wanted to be an answer engine. And they're going closer to that every day, much to our chagrin sometimes. But when you get right down to it, they're looking, they cannot sell ads if they don't maintain a strong user base. And they have to satisfy their users, not the SEOs, not the site owners. It's the users. That's what they're focused on. And there are searches that are best served in the SERP. If I'm just looking, translate this. Where can I find? What does this mean? There's no sense. It doesn't make a damn bit of difference to the user to go to your website to see what you've got to say. They're just looking for an answer. Now, where can I buy this? That's a different sort of thing. Now you're getting into transactionals. Yeah, you want them on your site, and probably Google does too. But I think that the SGE is changing the landscape tremendously. Rankings haven't really meant much for us for a while now.
Right.
And now they're even less important because they change. Who is it? What's their history? Where are they? What time of day is it? There's just so many things that change the rankings. So I think that the SGE is here to stay.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I think hopefully that it will evolve some. The biggest complaints we're seeing, at least I'm seeing now, are we used to get a link from Google. That was the deal. Google takes our content, presents it to its users. In exchange, they give us a link to our website and hopefully send us a little bit of traffic. SGE completely eliminates that. No longer do we send, or does Google send potential clients and viewers and readers to your website. They just answer the question, and your only part in this loop is creating the content that trained Google. And that seems very one-sided, which we're already seeing with the New York Times. It looks like there's going to be a very large lawsuit coming from the New York Times against Google, because they were able to demonstrate that Google's SGE wasn't creating new content based on what it had learned. It was simply regurgitating content it learned somewhere else. Exact copy and paste of whole New York Times articles. That's not what this was supposed to be. And I'm not terribly surprised that it's happening. The problem is
Yeah.
it's going to take somebody with a lot of money to challenge this, or, friends with the right politicians to challenge this.
Well, I think that there is I see a probability for some sort of findings, court findings, regulations, precedents that are going to restrict Google being able to do that. But that's a very, very gray area. I mean, what percentage of change needs to occur before it's no longer plagiarized? You know,
Right.
you can't very well put a number to that. So that is the one thing that I can see pushing Google to revamp considerably, and I think there's a real probability of that.
Right. And I think that, we carry this on into ChatGPT and content generation. We've already seen people who generate millions of pages for a website and rank very well, very quickly. And then Google comes out and says, we don't like AI generated content. Yet they serve so many spam results, like Reddit, which is currently getting inundated with spam attacks again, because now all of a sudden, if you're on Reddit, you rank well again. But what we're seeing is, Google says, hey, we would rather it be human made. Well, now we just want it to be helpful. And because I don't see them dedicating the CPU cycles and the resources to sorting out, is it human generated or is it AI generated? It's a lot easier to go, well, we're already looking for content that's at least coherent and reasonable. Let's just use that as a standard and not care whether it was generated by AI or not.
Well, AI detection has improved a little bit over what it was early on, but it's still very iffy. And I have taken some AI stuff and run it through these detector tools just to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen instances where it said it looked like it was 70% AI, and then I go through and I edit it kind of heavily, change a lot of the wording and the structure and the voice, and then it comes out and says it's 92% AI. So
Right.
hey, so
Exactly.
I do have a problem believing that Google really cares. I
Yeah.
think that if it's decent content and provides value to the users, that's going to satisfy them. And for the time being, now down the road, using AI to analyze AI tools, it's inevitable that the detection is going to get better. But
Well,
why should they care? And why should they waste machine cycles on it?
exactly. And as much garbage is generated on the internet every single day, it leads us over to the indexing issue that we're seeing now, where so many people can't get their pages indexed because they don't add anything of value to the discussion that's already there. They're just regurgitating what they've already seen, which is what most of the AI content does. It doesn't create anything new.
Well, and really, with the amount of content that's being added to the internet every day, uh, how many topics can you really add something unique to? It's getting harder every day. That things have been they're just so beaten to death.
Mhm.
You might find three resources that address three different aspects and combine them, and maybe you're adding value that way,
Right.
but it's getting harder. So I do not see Google being willing to continue to beat that dead horse because it's not going to be as productive for them. I think they have to take a more pragmatic look at it and say, okay, this either is good content or not, it is helpful or it isn't. And if it's equally helpful as these other two pieces, is it better written? Does it have better navigation? Is it a friendlier site for users? Is it more secure? All these different things that they're concerned about are probably going to be what will tip the scales, because you can change your style a little bit, but how much? How long? How many times?
You could become Hemingway. and write this article in the voice of Hemingway. And yeah, it's definitely going to cause some issues. Another problem that I'm seeing with some of the automation is the people that it's going to affect the most are the same people that all advances in technology affect. Are going to be the people at the bottom end of the labor force. The guys who've been out there writing cheap content, who've made their whole living on it. They're going to have to pivot, and to scale, they're going to have to start using AI to write their content for them, which, for some of these content houses means getting rid of, 40, 50, 100 different writers because they no longer need them. And they weren't writing at a level that was much more than spam anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's where some of our biggest changes are going to come over the next couple of years, is to do well in search in general and online as a whole. If you're somebody who relies on content on your blog for driving traffic to your website, you're going to have to elevate considerably from what you've been doing in the past. The 200, 400, 600 word generic article about, flowers or, yellow roses or whatever is going to have to go away. It just isn't going to work anymore, because how many times can we see that same piece of content over and over and over again?
Well, and that brings up another kind of side point. We're seeing over the last year a lot more instances of websites not being able to get as many pages indexed as they have traditionally been able to. Is that perhaps Google kind of throwing a spark to the fuel to say, okay, there's too much of this crap content, let's just stop indexing it, which makes sense,
Yeah.
So I think that is probably what has driven that it's not crawl budget. I don't have 40 million pages on my site, so crawl budget isn't an issue. So I think they're just trying to thin the herd a little bit and get rid of some of the garbage.
That would be nice to see that. I mean, we used to call it the supplemental index. The stuff wasn't good enough to get into the main index. Yep. And I would love to see a return to that. That would, who needs to see, and we've never needed this and it's a holdover from the early days of search. When you do a search and it says, here are, the top 10 out of 1.8 million results. Who cares? Nobody needs to 1.8 million results. Give me the top 30 and be done with it. Maybe the top 40, whatever, even the top 100. But the top 1.8 million, don't care. That seems like an awful lot of wasted effort. Is that more work on Google's end to actually maintain that? Yeah, don't care. They have the money for it. They have the technology, the information, and in theory, the engineers and developers who can handle that for them. But it would go back to Google thinking about the internet first. And I don't see that happening, especially after some of the things we've seen from some former employees who've just come out of Google.
Yeah.
But that's an issue for another day, I think.
That could be a whole series.
And Google's not the only one going all in on AI. Microsoft just announced the other day they want to change keyboards and add a new hotkey for AI for their Copilot. I'm sure everybody's aware that keyboards have a Windows key on them for a reason. Microsoft wanted that because it made things easier for a lot of users. Adding a AI key and a Copilot key is something that would bring up their AI help with just a single key button or a key press is obviously going to show that they're going in. They're not waiting. They're going all in. Whether their AI is as good as everybody else's is up for debate. But they are certainly not shying away from it. They're expecting the keyboard manufacturers to follow suit.
Well, AI is not going to go away. Okay.
Mhm.
And right now it is still in its infancy. So everybody is struggling to find a way that they can use it and how much they can use it and can it be depended upon. The hallucination issue has largely, I wouldn't say disappeared, but it's diminished dramatically. So
Right.
those problems are going to get worked out, and there's a lot of people out there with deep pockets that are putting an awful lot of effort into development of a better AI. And I think that one of the things that was brought up the other day, I was on the Webcology cast, and Steve brought up the fact, Steve Wiedemann does an awful lot of testing, a
Mm.
lot of testing, and he spends an awful lot of money on tools. Okay, AI, he said, is going to allow him to spend a lot less money on all those tools because now he has the ability to use the ChatGPT to find what he wants. And now that we no longer have to worry about using just a 2-year-old LLM, you can actually drop a database into place and tell it to search that. The ability to do some amazing work is there. So I'm not looking at AI as a solution for content generation, but I do think it's great for things like outlines,
Mhm.
research, finding a list, things like that, interesting data points. That is usable right now and can be very productive right now.
Agreed. The hardest part for me, though, is you can't ask it to cite its sources,
Well, that
and that is
I
always
think
a
that has to happen. Yeah, that
yeah.
has to happen. Somebody is going to make that happen. But again, now you're talking about scale. If I have let's say a database with 10,000 references in it,
Mhm.
I have to provide the links for those references, and the AI is going to have to look at those and determine which one of those references apply to this particular query, and then give me the link to that query. So, you're adding baggage, but there
Yeah,
has
but
to be an easier way to do it.
if you can make high school and college students cite their sources, why can't you make AI cite their sources?
Exactly.
It's not that big of a stretch. They already have the sources. They just need to tag everything. Uh, whether they'll do it or not, you know, for the betterment of the internet and the world as a whole, they should.
If there's a demand for it, somebody out there is going to do it.
Especially when they want to, make people the expert or authority on topics.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to take, that expert's hard-earned knowledge and use it as an answer, you should give credit to the person, you know, the expert that you took it from.
Absolutely.
Uh, Otherwise, we're back to, AI is going to become a self-referential thing where, one AI is generating the content and the other AI is learning from it, and you wind up in this circle where there's no growth, and that could be horrible. But moving on, been thinking about a few new
Yeah.
catchphrases because we're always talking, as an industry, we like to create new names around things, inbound marketing and all the other things that happen over the years. I think the next thing we're going to have is called AEO, Answer Engine Optimization, where it's not quite SEO, it's not quite a handful of other things, but AEO may become what people, if we start seeing people label themselves as AEO experts on LinkedIn in the next few months, I won't be surprised at all. Uh, and it kind of relates to what we've always said about content. The goal of your content shouldn't be to rank better or please the search engines. It should be to provide an answer for a customer or a client or solve a problem or whatever. Because if you do that, then everything else follows.
Yeah.
And we've gotten so many people in our industry who are just the opposite. And
Yeah, there
I
there
think,
are more than a few.
yeah, and I think having AEO as the next big thing may have a lot to do with changing that. We'll see more people doing real research, real statistical value stuff, so that when they publish a white paper or something, it means something. It actually solves or answers a question. And that in turn, maybe the search engines evolve enough to where they do start citing their sources. And then you become, the ideal source for this type of information because you're the one doing all the research. Back in the old days, people used to cite each other before Google made links have value. And then somebody created this thing called, link juice and leakage, which has never been a thing. I don't know why people keep referring to it, but we, as an industry, we stopped citing our references, and that was never a good thing. And I hope that we can get back to that. I don't think we will, but
Well, I'm sure you remember, it was 10, 15 years ago, there was an awful lot of heated discussion when somebody at Google had said that outbound links can contribute to your site's credibility as well as
right,
inbound links. And a lot of
hmm
people really fought that. They didn't want to link out. If
right,
they were going to link out, they were going to link out to their own content. They were going to internal linking and maybe to their other website or to some business partner, but not to just any resource where they cited something. And I don't think everybody has bought into that yet.
and it's a shame too, because years ago we used to create a lot of really killer content that was good enough that our direct competitors would link to,
Mm-hmm.
and that was a great thing. Um, do we see that anymore? Not really. Not at the level we used to, and that's kind of a shame. Uh, Everybody's too busy hoarding what little value they think they have. Maybe if you create something with a lot of value, that's not such a big deal. Uh, which I guess, brings us back to, being a topical authority on something. If you are one of the top sources, considered experts and authorities in your field, then become the topical authority. Be willing to create content that shows that you are, who everybody thinks you are. Um, Even internally on your own website, that makes sense, because when you start getting into things like topic clustering and content where, I guess some people call it silos, pillar content, whatever you want to call it, skyscraper content, where you're building a batch of content specifically to show that it stacks on each other. The knowledge keeps increasing. Um, and there's no reason why you can't use other people or link to other people as part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe that'll help you grow. Maybe it won't. I don't know. It would be nice to see a little more open internet than what we've seen in the past, especially in the last few years.
Yeah, it would be nice, but maybe I'm jaded, but I don't see it to be terribly likely.
Yeah, I don't either. It's a shame, but we can always try. Uh, it's, was the question was asked again because of, where we are with ChatGPT and SGE and all of the AI coming online. Somebody asked John Mueller about, is SEO dead? And he said it won't die at least in the first half of 2024. And
Wait for the other shoe to fall on that one, eh?
I mean, I took it as a great joke. I thought it was pretty funny, but there are some people who lost their minds. Um,
John does have a sense of humor. He's
does.
not above throwing something like that out there deliberately just to shake people up.
So for those of you who are worried, you've got 6 months, and then you need to become an AEO or something else to get through this. Uh, I think part of this, though, is actually really, really good for the internet. Um, 10 years ago, or even further back, when I used to talk with business owners, and I used to describe driving traffic to their website like wheels on a train. You needed a couple of really big ones like Google or Facebook or whatever, but you needed all these other small ones, or you weren't going anywhere. And these smaller traffic sources, these smaller wheels, are becoming more important than ever, because you can't always rely on Google to be there for anybody outside of the top 5, especially if they add, you got your SGE block, then a map block, then a shopping block, then a whatever. And, by the time you've scrolled 3 times before you get to natural rankings.
Yep.
So I'm hoping that as marketers, as a group, we start thinking more laterally. Where else can we get real traffic from? I've always said, when it came to link building, I didn't care where the link was as long as it sent traffic. I don't care if it helps with search. I don't care if it helps with anything else. If it sends 1 visitor a month to my website, I want that link. If it sends 100 visitors a month, I really want that link. And let the rest fall where it falls, because then you're not completely saddled with Google and the whims of the algorithm and the latest core update that seems to be happening more and more frequently.
Well, plus the fact that that kind of a focus on small links, insignificant links, now kind of pushes the site owner to actually develop a conversion practice.
Mm-hmm.
Because just counting, it's like the old days of hits. I had 1,200 hits.
Yes.
And how many sales? Well, we didn't get any sales yet. Well, then you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
Okay. Some those links are crap, and you're not getting targeted visitors. And once you get them there, you're disgusting them or chasing them off or failing to reach into their pocket. So I think that's going to create a change in focus. If you're going to be a marketer, you need to have a sales effort.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise you're just advertising, and name brand recognition is only going to get you so far. If it doesn't generate sales for you, you're going out of business.
And if you're an SEO or a pay-per-click guy or content developer or whatever, start working more and more with people in other areas of the entire marketing field. I know so many SEOs who are completely incapable of working on sales funnels. They have no idea how that process works.
Yep.
And developers who have no idea about SEO. You don't have to learn those things, but you have to start hanging out with the people who do, and be willing to work together so that you can provide the best solution for the client. Because in the end, if the clients aren't successful, then we don't have jobs.
Exactly.
I mean, I kind of like having a job. Food and heat, they're nice things.
Yeah. Keeping a roof over your head is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've seen over the years a lot of changes in what we do as SEOs. I mean, to the point where you even see some heated discussions. That's not really SEO. That's this. That's that. You know, uh, I've had people tell me that doing technical audits is not SEO. It's not search engine optimization. Well, I disagree heartily with that. But okay, whatever it is, there's a necessity for it. There's a market for it. So I do them, and it's productive. But with the advent of AI, I think we're going to need to take another look at what we should be doing. Okay, is it AEO? Is it working on the technical? Is it working on link building? Everybody's got their own little niche that they're going to have to find, but the game is changing. So if the rules change, the players got to adjust or cease to be players.
Agree. All right. It's been a great first show of 2024. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more of these this year and bringing on guests as we go. And hopefully we'll see you guys around on YouTube or LinkedIn or any of the other places where you happen to find me and Doc hanging out. Doc, have yourself a great afternoon.
You too, brother. Thank you, folks.